Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books, Star Wars books, and Spider-Man books, and now it's on to this week's Avengers, Devil's Reign, and Miscellaneous Marvel titles. That's right, we're wrapping up Marvel with this one. Still got DC, but yeah. Anyway, kicking things off, we've got Avengers Forever, number 4. Where we left off, our troubled multiversal heroes that seemingly defeated Black Skull, only for a bunch of additional Black Skulls to step through dimensional portals. But while that is focused, the main focus of this issue is on the Goddesses of Thunder, the granddaughters of old King Thor. So in the King Thor miniseries, it was all over. Thor basically sacrificed himself to save creation. And Mjolnir is hovering, and well, turns out that all the Mjolnirs are multiversally connected to each other. But on the Earth they're on, there's a sudden firestorm. It's Phoenix Fire. And among the things that fall to the Earth are the severed forearm of Wolverine. His right hand. Claws out. So they get on their multiversal ship and they let Mjolnir guide them. Meanwhile, the Earth 818's Avengers are dealing with their sudden attack of Black Skulls when the Goddesses of Thunder arrive and turn the tide. And Ghost Rider manages to defeat the Black Skulls. But the Goddesses of Thunder end up talking with Simon Williams, Wonder Man of Earth 818. And he has switched them as a goddess, explain. And they all are, and he doesn't know how to pray. And yes, he just tell them his prayer. His prayer being he never have to kill anyone again. But meeting with Ant-Man, they found Batter's Mjolnir and another severed forearm of Wolverine. Apparently fell during a cosmic firestorm on the Earth, warmer a few weeks previously. Tony says he swears he can see it moving sometimes. But the Goddesses of Thunder take Mjolnir of that Earth and head off in search of others. But Moon Knight and Vision have ended up in the center of infinity. And there's a plan to rebuild infinity one Earth at a time. At the center of infinity, though, Moon Knight and Vision have arrived, and someone says that it's always good to have more Moon Knights and more Visions. Avenger Prime will be happy. And it turns out that saying this is none other than Captain Carter. We've also got another Iron Man, or maybe it's more War Machine, but possibly Widow, looking at the arc reactor, and a more Green Arrow inspired Hawkeye. And that is where the issue ends. As all, Avengers Forever so far has been interesting. It's nice to see. I'm still irritated by the fact that Jason Aaron's Avengers run largely seems to just be setting up other stories for other books to deal with. I don't mind it so much here because he is telling. To some degree, it does feel like at the very least, Avengers and Avengers Forever feel currently a bit more connected than the other stories have started off in Avengers and gone off in other books felt. So, but still, I mean, it's a fun book so far. I'm really liking it. But as I've stated on numerous occasions, I'm a fan of multiverse stuff. I love seeing shit like that. What if the possibilities of what if this character was this character? Stuff like that. That's great to me. I love that shit. So, anyway, moving on to our next book, we got Captain America and Iron Man #5, wrapping up the miniseries. So, where we left off, Cap and Veronica Eden were dealing with the Overseer's plans on aboard the helicarrier, while Iron Man was trying to make sure that the Paladins didn't kill their former teammate 51, and then presumably get themselves branded as heroes. So Iron Man's en route. The bulk of the issue is narrated by Tony. But Iron Man is en route to save 51, and he manages to do so. Turns out that 51's telepathy works a lot better on machines than it does people. As Iron Man arrives, though, a couple of Myrmidons show up to also take 51. The Paladins are just kind of like, hey, go for it. You have fun killing them. It means we don't have to. But Veronica Eden and Cap, meanwhile, are dealing with Myrmidons aboard the helicarrier. And Iron Man is communicating with Cap. Well, they're planning, and yeah. But Cap, Iron Man, 51, and Veronica all meet up at the Overseer's giant head. 51 goes in and basically takes over the Overseer. The Paladins we end up getting a brief fight between the Paladins and Cap and Iron Man. Cap and Iron Man take them out fairly quickly, with Tony basically kind of saying, the Paladins were not the best idea. They a lot of it, but he also says it blocks it that makes him a real leader. Prima Donna could have been one of the greats if she'd learned to get over her own insecurities. Think Tank was nothing but potential. Pioneer, well, to be honest, Tony's not even sure what Pioneer's power is. Something about ghosts? But 51 then then basically tells everyone that they're going to be leaving the helicarrier. And Tony saves two of the Paladins, while Veronica Eden saves Cap and the other two. Since, They're the ones that currently fly. Days later, Steve shows up with at Tony's apartment with coffee. So they can talk. Turns out that helicarrier's stealth is incredibly effective. Veronica's gone into the wind, and Tony says she's a remarkable person, but they know a lot of remarkable people, and you know how they end up. Either wielding the power they're so desperate to seize, or being crushed by it. And Eden ends up in an alleyway, face to face with Baron Zemo, whom she tried to steal Hydra from during the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries. And that is where the issue ends. This was a fun series, and there was actually a really great moment in this book. I kind of glossed over during the fight between the Paladins and Cap and Iron Man, where Cap makes this whole point of trying to impress upon the Paladins that the importance of responsibility when you're a superhero, and adding that there's a guy I would suggest you team up with. If you kept at this, you probably would. Between the jokes and the swinging around, there's a lot you can say about responsibility. Like, nice nod to Spider-Man without saying Spider-Man, even if there's no reason not to, but still. It's a nice little nod to the fact of how much respect Cap honestly does have for Spider-Man. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Iron Man number 18. Where we left off, the Iron God, Tony Stark, killed his space buddies, as well as Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom. All that was left was Hellcat. And he realizes the mistake he's made, and Hellcat tries to figure out what to do. Well, basically they go into Tony's mind to talk, and he explains that he makes enemies much more easier than friends, and there's always conflict. When he makes friends, there's always conflict. But he explains that part of what he's trying to be something other than worthless, adding that his father, he was invisible to his father unless he was winning the absolute best. So, the issues, basically. But Hellcat explains that, she has something similar. Her mom used to write wrote all these stories about Patsy when she was younger. Charming, beautiful, perfect grades. No, that was never the case. And, in fact, her mother paid more attention to those stories than she did to Patsy herself. And Hellcat kind of mentions no wonder she married a demon. But we talk about Jekyll and Hyde with Iron Man kind of comparing himself to Jekyll. Explaining Jekyll, he's a good person, and he's fine, smart, dutiful, but flawed, like anyone. But he starts to wonder if he should rid himself of these vices, his lesser qualities. Because the truth is, he actually can't stand them. Deep down, he hates them. Hates these weak parts of himself. So he can concoct a unique and special method. Something that will allow him to be the paragon he's always wanted to be. He can be perfect now. No distractions, no errors. But of course, the bad stuff about him, the ugly, selfish stuff, is still there. But now it's relegated to a separate self. A self he doesn't really think about, or even care about anymore. It doesn't really matter who this self hurts in the process. Because now he gets to be a saint, just like he always secretly wanted. But the thing is, he's not. He's still just some misguided person. Or some person, misguided. He continues to do bad things. His flaws remain and people get hurt. His grand transformation process, it starts to lose its effectiveness, its potency. He tries drinking more of the potion to make it work. It doesn't. The flaws become abscesses. And we see some of the things that Tony regrets. going after various armored heroes during armor wars, namely Stingray, killing the Supreme Intelligence at the end of Operation Galactic Storm, standing against Cap during Civil War, his alcoholism. But he keeps reaching, even as perfect slips further and further away. He goes for broke, but it just gets worse. Rinse and repeat. And he's stuck. But Patsy's just he bring everyone back, insisting that he make sure they remember what he did to them. So he does. He apologizes. Well, except to Dr. Doom. Just simply says, no hard feelings. And then he gives up his cosmic power. Goes for a walk. Though Patsy states that before he gave up the cosmic power, he probably should have repaired the structural damage he'd done to her apartment. And he states he's going to do that with his own two hands, though. But she says that maybe he shouldn't come around for a while. So he goes for a walk in the park, gets mugged, just gives up his wallet. But then the morphine withdrawal hits. And while he's reflecting on all this, Korvac returns. So he had the most brilliant idea, and he had to share it with Stark as soon as it entered his mind. A great way to bring about universal harmony. Universal harmony through annihilation. And he's chosen Tony to be the first recipient of the gift of annihilation, the first death thrower of the great pirate Quietus. However, Stark is not even aware of things. He's passed on the ground, and Korvac's like, Stark? And the issue ends with Tony reflecting on that despite all the enemies he's made over the years, his worst will always be himself. Good issue. I still feel like, by and large, there's been a good portion of this series that feels like it's been spinning. It's where it feels like they've just been spinning their wheels to get to figure out where to go with the main story. So, but the Korvac storyline arc is ending with the next issue. So, I'm kind of hoping for some less drawn out stories as the series goes on. Moving on to our next book, though, we got Devil's Reign, Villains for Hire, number 3. Where we left off, a woman named Conviction, who had powers similar to Purple Man, turned a bunch of New Yorkers against Fisk and the Thunderbolts at a Fisk rally, and also managed to turn Elektra against them, who had gone off, and she kind of exploded a bit. Non-lethal force, but still, a lot of people were injured. So the Thunderbolts trying to clean up. Clean up the mess. Walker tries to convince Fisk, hey, this is probably a good point to, be the face, be the hero you want everyone to think you are. But Walker's supposed to clean up the mess quickly because Fisk has another job for him. But Walker helps out with the emergency crews, and Agony even shows up to help. But Conviction's still there, and she starts turning some of the emergency crew workers against the Thunderbolts. Agony goes after Conviction, and Conviction touches her, but it turns out that the symbiote can purge all that, and does. But then Conviction goes after John Walker, and Agony purges the reprogramming from Conviction from Walker. But Conviction also explains that she was experimented upon by Fisk in Ravencroft, trying to duplicate the Purple Man's powers. Back at headquarters, Thunderbolt's given their next mission: bring in the Purple Children. Rhino's not going after kids, but they're ordered. And with Rhino quitting the team, it turns out they've got plenty of they've still got muscle, and the Abomination is introduced to the rest of the team as their teammate. But they've got trackers to find everyone, and there's a convictions trying to find them as well. They finally apprehend the Purple Children. As they're leaving the building, however, well, they're stopped by the champions, with Jessica Jones leading the charge, which we saw pan out in Devil's Reign number 5. That is where the issue, and I believe the miniseries, ends. Which brings us to our next book, Devil's Reign X-Men, number 3. So where we left off, Emma Frost was being accused of murder. She didn't commit the murder, but the witness to a murder had disappeared years ago when she was still White Queen of the Hellfire Club, as opposed to a member of the Quiet Council and White Queen. But Emma has been. This has given Fisk some ammo to use against her. She went to England to go find the girl to say, "Yeah, I didn't kill her. Here she is. See," and was promptly taken into custody by Union Jack. We open with a quote from Kirk Barrett: "Frost scared me more than the Kingpin did back in the day. I know she got stuff on that too. Or I know she got off on that too. Best to give that woman a wide berth. I never want to be on her shit list." Probably a good idea. But turns out that the power damage collars that England has are made by Orcus, as they all have the Orcus symbol on them. But Emma convinces it. Turns out that there are various reasons why the London cops aren't wearing their side blockers. Some of them believe telepathy is just a hoax. Others believe rumors that having side hammers close to your skull gives you brain tumors. So she's able to control the police. Oh, the fun she has with police dogs! She turns them on Union Jack, and also apparently makes them forget their safe word. The cops. She makes the cops beat the hell out of each other. And Union Jack insists everyone put their protective gear on. But there's a note to the girl named Isabel from Emma. Telling her to keep up with her art. She's ready to do name and identity for her, keeping her first name and giving her mother's maiden name of Donovan. But she also instills something that was brought up in Marauders. We girls have to look out for each other. Something she also taught the Cuckoos. Back to the London Hellfire Club. Isabel's already waiting for her. They talk a bit. And Isabel reveals that for the summer, Elektra trained Isabel. Never told her name, but one day she was gone. But Isabel fights off Union Jack as well as one of the police officers brought in to bring in Frost. The two of them go to Krakoa, though Isabel says she could not live there. She's a city rat at heart. But Emma makes a deal with Ben Urich. He'll get to interview Isabel, and it's going to make Fisk look bad, so it's a win-win. But there are still some things that there's still some crimes that Emma does have to answer for. Her lawyers give the good and bad news. She insists the insurance company for the fraudulent loan that was made in the name of the Invisible Woman. Well, she does. There's an expectation of repayment to an insurance company, though Emma suggests quietly buy up shares of the company. We'll see how much I owe once I own the company. But other than that, things are pretty well worked out. There's still one more meeting she has. She takes control of Typhoid Mary, who holds a knife to Fisk's throat, and basically says that one day, maybe not long from now, Emma's going to ask him a question, and she wants Fisk to answer it honestly, and she'll know if he's lying. Assuming he survives the shit show he's made for himself in New York. Though she wouldn't doubt he survived worse. But the question would be if crossing her was worth everything. And she has it. She could be anyone around Fisk at any moment. He won't see her coming until she wants him to. Adding that she learned patience while in his employ. If Fisk manages to wiggle free from this random terror that he's created, he still has her killing him to look forward to. Adding that Mary will awaken in a moment and have no memory of this. And she leaves. And that is where the issue ends. Whether it does say at the end, not at the end. So I imagine this is going to be there's going to be some spillover in future X-Men titles. Good title. I appreciate the fact that it seems that Jerry Dugan is now the go-to for X-Men stuff with since Jonathan Hickman has recently left Marvel for Substack. I'm liking the directions he's taking things in. It saddens me he's no longer writing Marauders, but oh well. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Elektra, Black, White, and Blood, number 3. Like other issues of this and other Black, White, and Blood miniseries, there are 3 stories in this issue. So we've got Split by Ann Nocenti, With a Passion by Paul, I'm probably going to butcher this, Paul Azaceta, and Weapons of Choice by David Pepose. So, Split takes place after the flashback events of Daredevil number 168. I've never been a huge Daredevil fan, so I couldn't tell you what happened in Daredevil 168, except that Daredevil popped up and probably beat someone's ass and regretted being Daredevil for a panel or two. But apparently, Elektra is in a mental institution after the death of her father. But her cellmates are an interesting batch. One of them is named Mary. And so, one of the girls tries to commit suicide, and while Elektra tries to save her, the guards see what's happened, and so they go in. But Mary and Elektra deal with the guards. Turns out Mary's got some abilities that she never really told anyone about. But Mary and Elektra get out. Elektra gives Mary some advice before they go their separate ways. Yes, it's Typhoid Mary. I'm surprised I like it. The idea that Mary and Elektra had previously knew each other before Mary became one of Daredevil's deadliest foes is really cool. I like it. Moving on, we've got With a Passion. So this I would say during the early days of Elektra, during Frank Miller's run, Elektra is fighting Daredevil, but they're so close. He manages to bring her down, and they're so close, and they kiss, and then they end up back in Matt's apartment together, and she stabs his pillow with one of her sighs before leaving. She cryingly kills a woman, and it's she can still smell Matt. She can still smell Matt. And finally, our last story, Weapons of Choice. Moscow, years ago. It seems to me that this is supposed to be during Black Widow's Natasha Romanoff's Black Widow training, though Elektra, given the fact that it has been clearly and canonically stated that, well, due to her, that Black Widow was, born in the 20s, late 20s, early 30s. It could simply be a parallel universe, but won't be the first alternate universe story in one of these. So yeah, but Natasha's made her way through a training sim, through some training, done well, and actually she wants a challenge. However, she's being watched by Elektra through a sniper rifle. So we get a fight between Elektra and Black Widow. Then other widows are brought in under mind control. They assault them, and Natasha attack Elektra, bring her in. But turns out the doctor who made the mind control device, no, he's loyal to the hand. He's now loyal to the hand, and so key phrases have been revealed, and Elektra uses one of them, causes the widows to destroy the box, and then ends up calling Black Widow to taunt her. That, if Natasha ever wants a rematch, Elektra will be waiting. And that is where the story ends. That's where the story and the issue end. I really liked this issue. If I had a complaint about it, it would be the fact that the art and With a Passion feels like it's trying incredibly hard to be Frank Miller. I mean, just like really trying to be Miller, and it's a little jarring. But otherwise, I mean, they're good stories. I still say that probably the weakest link in all of these has been Black, White, and Blood minis has been the Carnage one. But yeah, anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Maestro, World War M, #2. Now, I mentioned earlier with Savage Spider-Man that there was some talk about the quality of paper used on Marvel's books last week. Another one was often cited was well, World War M #2. And where we left off there, Namor had recruited the Abomination to his side, and that he had also managed to recruit the Golden Age Human Torch, Jim Hammond, who attacked Maestro in San Diego. Maestro follows him back underwater. Human Torch insists that he killed Maestro because no one could survive his Noah heat. It's like dropping someone into the sun, he states. But then Maestro shows up and yeah, fights off Namor's guards, but one of Namor's other guards, a giant sea monster, attacks him, and well, yeah, Maestro deals with that promptly and causes a lot of damage, and even stated killing Namor's wife and child. But before Maestro can finish off Namor, the Abomination shows up and stops him, and the two of them duke it out until Abomination, Namor, and the Human Torch are teleported away to Castle Doom, where a broken and battered Doom is asking for help, or to gain revenge on the Maestro. And that is where, well, the issue ends with Human Torch looking at Doom and basically saying, "Who the hell is this?" But that is where the issue ends. I've really been enjoying these Maestro minis over the last couple of years. I'm not a big Hulk fan. Yeah, I'm currently reading Donny Cates' Hulk because first issue came out at a good point for me. It was easy to pick up on. I do kind of wish I'd read Immortal Hulk, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, solid haul of got some good stuff. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.